I was carving the turkey when my brothers said the words that would change everything. "You've never done anything for this family, Daniel. Not one damn thing." My name's Daniel Farster. I'm 37 years old, and I've been the invisible ATM for my family for the past 12 years. We were gathered at my parents' house in suburban Chicago for Christmas dinner, the same house I'd been paying the mortgage on since 2018 when Dad lost his job. 23 people crammed into the dining room and living room, eating food I'd paid for in a house I kept afloat, celebrating a holiday I'd funded. And my older brother Jason, Golden Boy Jason with his flashy car and designer watch, had just told me I'd never done anything for this family. The room went quiet. Everyone was looking at me, waiting for my response. Mom set down her wine glass, the expensive Napa Valley vintage I'd bought. Dad shifted uncomfortably in his chair at the head of the table, the antique oak table I'd purchased when their old one broke. "Excuse me," I said, setting down the carving knife. "You heard me," Jason continued, emboldened by the whiskey he'd been drinking, Johnny Walker Blue, which I'd brought as a gift. "You show up to these family gatherings, you eat, you leave. You never help with anything. You're always too busy with work. Meanwhile, the rest of us actually contribute." My sister-in-law, Ashley, nodded in agreement. My younger sister, Emma, looked down at her plate. My cousin, Mark, smirked from across the room. "Contribute," I repeated slowly. "That's interesting. Tell me, Jason, what exactly have you contributed?" "I help Dad with house projects. I'm here for family emergencies. I show up, Daniel. That's more than I can say for you." I looked around the room at my extended family, aunts, uncles, cousins, all nodding along with Jason's assessment. The deadbeat younger brother who couldn't be bothered to help the family. Something inside me snapped. I pulled out my phone and opened my banking app. "You want to talk about contribution? Let's talk about contribution." "Daniel," Mom said nervously, "let's not do this now. It's Christmas." "No, Mom, Jason wants to discuss what I've done for this family. So let's discuss it." I pulled up my transaction history and started reading. December 5th, 10th, $2,847 to Henderson Heating and Cooling for the new furnace. December 10th, $890 to CUMT for this month's electricity bill. December 5th, $1,200 for Christmas presents for everyone here, which you've all already opened. December 1st, $3,200 mortgage payment. The room had gone completely silent. I kept scrolling. November, $3,200 mortgage, $340 water bill, $890 electric, $200 to help Emma with her car payment, $450 to help Aunt Linda with her medical bills. October, $3,200 mortgage, $1,100 property taxes, $800 utilities, $600 for Dad's prescription medications. Jason's face had gone pale. "What are you talking about?" "I'm talking about the fact that I've been paying for this house, for the utilities, for the repairs, for the medical bills, for the cars, for everything for the past 5 years. Before that, I was just paying the mortgage. But when Dad's health got worse and Mom couldn't work full-time anymore, I started covering everything else too." Dad stood up. "Daniel, you don't need to." "Actually, Dad, I do. Because apparently, I've never done anything for this family." I looked at Jason. "Do you want to know how much I've contributed to this family in the past 12 years? No one answered. $387,000. Mortgage payments, utility bills, medical expenses, car repairs, insurance premiums, property taxes, emergency expenses, Christmas presents, birthday gifts, family vacations that I couldn't even attend because I was working to pay for them." Ashley's mouth had fallen open. Emma was crying. Mom looked like she might faint. "But you're right, Jason," I continued, my voice eerily calm. "I've never done anything for this family. I've just been writing checks every month like a fucking ATM machine, while you take credit for hanging a picture frame or mowing the lawn once a month." "I didn't know," Jason stammered. "Mom and Dad never said." "Of course they didn't, because I asked them not to. I thought if I just took care of things quietly, without making a big deal about it, the family would be stable, happy. I thought I was helping." I looked around at everyone, at the shocked faces, the guilty expressions, the dawning realization. But I see now that helping doesn't mean anything if people don't know about it, if people don't appreciate it, if people think you're actually doing nothing while you're sacrificing everything. Mom found her voice. "Honey, we're so grateful. Are you, Mom? Because you've never thanked me. Not once. Every month I transfer thousands of dollars to your account and you've never once acknowledged it. You've never asked if I could afford it, if it was hurting me financially, if I needed help. You just ... took it. All of you just took it and assumed it was somehow magically appearing. The turkey sat half-carved on the table, getting cold. The expensive sides I'd paid for, the truffle mashed potatoes, the organic green beans, the artisanal bread, sat untouched. Starting January 1st, I said quietly, I'm done. No more mortgage payments, no more utility bills, no more bailouts, no more emergency funds, no more anything. You're all adults. You can figure it out. Daniel, please, Dad said, his voice shaking. Don't do this out of anger. We can talk about this. We should have talked about it years ago, Dad, but we didn't, because it was easier to just let me pay for everything while treating me like the family fuck-up who never helps out. I grabbed my coat from the coat rack I'd bought when theirs broke last winter. Wait, Emma called out, standing up. Danny, I didn't know. I swear I didn't know you were paying for everything. Mom and Dad never told us. I looked at my little sister, the only one who'd always been kind to me, who'd never made me feel like less. I know you didn't, but that's part of the problem. This whole family operates on assumptions and appearances instead of truth. Jason had recovered from his shock and now looked angry. So what? You're just going to let Mom and Dad lose the house? Let them go into debt? That's your solution? No, Jason. My solution is for you and Ashley and Emma and everyone else here who's been benefiting from my money to step up and actually contribute. You want to talk about what you do for this family? Great. Start paying some bills. Start covering the mortgage. Start being the responsible adults you all claim to be. We can't afford, Ashley started. Neither can I. The words exploded out of me. Do you think I can afford $387,000? Do you have any idea what I've sacrificed? I drive a 15-year-old Honda while you drive a brand new Mercedes, Jason. I live in a one-bedroom apartment while you live in a four-bedroom house. I haven't taken a vacation in 8 years because every spare dollar goes to this family. So don't tell me you can't afford it. You can't afford it because you've been spending your money on yourselves while I've been spending mine on everyone else. The truth of my words hung in the air like smoke. I could see it on their faces, the guilt, the realization, the uncomfortable acknowledgement that they'd been living beyond their means on my dime. I walked toward the door. Mom followed me. Daniel, please, don't leave like this. Stay, we'll talk this through. There's nothing to talk through, Mom. I've made my decision. I'm done being the family's secret benefactor. I'm done sacrificing my life for people who don't even notice. We notice. We love you. You love what I provide. That's not the same thing. I walked out into the Chicago December cold, got in my old Honda, and drove away from the house I'd been paying for, leaving behind a family that was about to learn what it really costs to maintain the lifestyle they'd been taking for granted. My phone started ringing before I even made it to the highway. Mom, I declined the call. Then Dad, declined. Emma, declined. Even Jason had the nerve to call. I turned off my phone and drove to my modest apartment in a cheaper neighborhood, the place I'd chosen because it was all I could afford after sending most of my paycheck to my family every month. I was a senior software engineer at a successful tech firm. I made $165,000 a year, which sounded like a lot until you factored in that I'd been sending $3,000, $5,000 a month to my family for over a decade. After taxes, rent, basic expenses, and my family obligations, I had almost nothing left for myself. While Jason, who made $80,000 a year as a sales manager, drove luxury cars and took Mediterranean cruises because he didn't have a mortgage, because I was paying his parents' mortgage. While Emma, who worked as a teacher making $45,000, got regular manicures and bought designer purses because I was covering her car payments just until she got on her feet 4 years ago. While my parents maintained a lifestyle they couldn't afford on Dad's disability and Mom's part-time administrative work because their son was silently bankrolling everything. I sat in my apartment, my modest, plain, barely decorated apartment, and looked at my bank account. With the money I'd been sending to my family each month, I could have bought a house, could have taken vacations, could have had savings, investments, a life. Instead, I had a near-empty apartment and a family that thought I'd never done anything for them. My phone was still off, but I knew what was coming. The calls, the texts, the guilt trips, the accusations that I was being selfish, that I was abandoning the family, that I was cruel. But I'd made my decision. Starting January 1st, they were on their own, and I was finally, after 12 years, going to start living for myself. I turned my phone back on the morning after Christmas to find 247 notifications, 43 missed calls, 78 text messages. The rest were emails, voicemails, and social media messages, all from family members, all saying variations of the same thing. How could you do this? We need to talk. You're being unreasonable. This isn't you. But the one that stood out was from my childhood friend Marcus, who'd been at the dinner but stayed quiet through the whole confrontation. Asterisk, bro. I've been watching you carry them for years. Proud of you for finally saying enough. Asterisk. I made coffee in my quiet apartment and read through the messages methodically. Most were from Mom, alternating between apologies and guilt trips. Dad's messages were shorter, more direct. Asterisk. We need to discuss this like adults. Asterisk. Jason's started angry and evolved to almost conciliatory by message 15. Emma's were different. Asterisk. Danny, I'm so sorry. I had no idea. Can we talk? Just you and me? Asterisk. I responded only to Emma. Asterisk. Coffee next week? Asterisk. Then I did something I hadn't done in 12 years. I called my bank and set up a separate savings account. Automatic transfer of $4,000 per month. The money I would have sent to my family. I was going to watch it grow. I was going to see what my sacrifice had really cost me. December 28th, $4,000 transferred to savings. It felt surreal, watching that money stay in my account instead of disappearing into the family void. The day before New Year's Eve, I met Emma at a Starbucks near her apartment. She looked tired, her usual bright energy dimmed. They're panicking, she said before I could even order my coffee. Danny, they're absolutely panicking. Good. She flinched at my tone. Mom showed me the mortgage statement. The payment's due on the 15th. They don't have it, then they need to figure it out. How? Dad's on disability. Mom works part-time at a dentist's office making $28,000 a year. They can't afford a $3,200 mortgage payment. I took a sip of my coffee, expensive coffee I could actually afford now. Emma, that's exactly my point. They couldn't afford that house when they bought it. Dad bought it when he was making $95,000 a year in construction management. But that was 15 years ago. They should have downsized after he got injured, but they didn't want to leave the neighborhood or give up their status. So I enabled them to keep living beyond their means. So your solution is to let them lose the house? My solution is to let them make adult decisions about their finances. Maybe they sell and buy something they can afford. Maybe they rent out rooms. Maybe Jason steps up and helps since he's so concerned about family contribution. Emma was quiet for a moment. He can't. He and Ashley are underwater on their house and both their car loans. They're living paycheck to paycheck on $170,000 combined income. How is that possible? Because they spend like they make $300,000. The Mercedes, the boat, the country club membership, Ashley's shopping habits. Danny, they're drowning in debt. I felt a cold satisfaction at that. Jason, who'd stood in that dining room and accused me of never helping, was financially irresponsible and broke. What about you? I asked. How are you doing financially? Emma looked embarrassed. Not great. I have about $30,000 in credit card debt. The car payments you were helping with, I actually still can't afford them on my own. I've been ... supplementing my income with the money you were sending. You make $45,000 a year. How do you have $30,000 in credit card debt? Shopping, mostly. Dinners out. I wanted to keep up with my friends, and you were helping with my car, so I thought I had more disposable income than I did. She looked at me with tears in her eyes. I'm not blaming you. This is my fault. I was irresponsible. But Danny, I don't know what to do now. You do what everyone does. You budget. You cut expenses. You live within your means. It's not that simple. It is exactly that simple, Emma. It's just not easy. But simple and easy aren't the same thing. She wiped her eyes. What about you? How are you really doing? Are you okay? The question surprised me. In all the messages, all the calls, no one had asked that. They'd asked me to reconsider, to be reasonable, to think about the family. But Emma was the first to ask about me. Honestly, I'm angry, I'm hurt, and I'm relieved. Relieved? For 12 years, I've been carrying a weight that wasn't mine to carry, and I did it willingly because I loved you all and wanted to help. But somewhere along the way, my help became an expectation, an entitlement. And when Jason said I'd never done anything, when everyone nodded along, I shook my head. That's when I realized I wasn't helping anymore. I was enabling, and I was making myself miserable in the process. Emma reached across the table and took my hand. I'm so sorry, Danny. I'm sorry we didn't see it. I'm sorry I took advantage. I'm sorry I never thanked you or even acknowledged what you were doing. Did Mom and Dad really never tell you? Never mention that I was paying for things? Never, I thought. I don't know what I thought. I guess I assumed they had savings or Dad's disability was enough. I never asked because it was easier not to know. That seemed to be the family motto. It's easier not to know. January 1st came and went. No mortgage payment from me. No utility payments. No emergency fund transfers. January 3rd, Mom called. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Daniel, please, the mortgage is due in 2 weeks. We don't have it. I know. That's all you have to say. What do you want me to say, Mom? I told you at Christmas I was done. Did you think I was bluffing? I thought you'd calm down. I thought you'd realize you were overreacting. Overreacting to being told I've never done anything for this family after spending $387,000 supporting it. She was crying now. We didn't know, Daniel. How many times do I have to say it? We didn't know you were keeping track. We didn't know it was such a burden. That's the problem. You didn't know because you never asked. You never wondered. You just took and assumed it would keep coming. We're your family, I know. And I've been treating you like family. But you've been treating me like a bank. That's not fair, isn't it? When's the last time you called me just to talk, Mom? When's the last time you asked about my life, my job, my happiness? Every conversation we've had for 5 years has been about money, about bills that need paying, emergencies that need covering, things that need buying. Silence on the other end. I love you, Mom. I love all of you. But I can't keep sacrificing my entire life to fund yours. I just can't. So what are we supposed to do? Her voice was small, defeated. I don't know. Sell the house, downsize, get a roommate, file for bankruptcy if you have to. Those are all options people take when they can't afford their lifestyle. You want us to file for bankruptcy. I want you to make grown-up decisions about your finances instead of relying on me to bail you out indefinitely. After I hung up, I felt guilty, but I also felt liberated. January 15th arrived. Mortgage due date. I knew they didn't have it because Emma had texted me. Asterisk, they're trying to get a loan. Dad's at the bank now. Asterisk, the bank would decline them. I knew this because I'd been the one keeping their credit score afloat by ensuring all their bills were paid on time. January 18th. Asterisk, bank denied them. Dad's talking about a reverse mortgage. Asterisk, a reverse mortgage on a house that already had a substantial traditional mortgage. That would be a disaster. January 20th. Asterisk, Jason offered to take out a personal loan to cover this month's mortgage. Ashley is furious. Asterisk, I'm sure she was. Their marriage was probably imploding under financial stress. January 25th. Emma again. Asterisk, can we meet? Please. I need to talk to you about something. Asterisk, we met at the same Starbucks. Emma looked worse than before, dark circles under her eyes. Her normally stylish clothes rumpled. Jason and Ashley are separating, she said without preamble. What? The financial stress. Ashley found out Jason's been lying about their debt. He took out a $15,000 personal loan at 18% interest to cover Mom and Dad's mortgage, and he did it without telling her. She's livid. She's staying with her sister. I felt a twinge of guilt but pushed it away. That was Jason's choice, I know. But Danny, the whole family is falling apart. Mom's on antidepressants. Dad's blood pressure is through the roof. Jason and Ashley might divorce. And She pulled out an envelope and handed it to me. It was an eviction notice. 30 days to vacate her apartment. I can't make rent anymore, she said quietly. Without your help with the car, I couldn't keep up with everything. I'm 3 months behind. The guilt hit harder this time. I'm not asking you to pay it. I'm not. I'm showing you because I want you to understand the ripple effect. When you pulled out, everything collapsed. And I know it's not your fault. I know we should have been managing better, but Danny, we weren't prepared. That's my point. You should have been prepared. You're 28 years old, Emma. You should have savings, a budget, a financial plan. But instead, you were spending money you didn't have because I was propping you up. I know. Tears were streaming down her face. I know, and I'm trying to fix it now. I got a second job bartending on weekends. I cut up my credit cards. I'm selling my car and buying something cheap outright. But it's too late to save my apartment. Where will you go? I'm moving back in with Mom and Dad. Of course she was. And I'd be willing to bet Jason would move back to once his marriage officially imploded. The house I'd been paying for was becoming a lifeboat for the family I'd been supporting. How ironic. I need you to understand something, I said carefully. I'm not doing this to punish you. Any of you. I'm doing this because I've spent 12 years putting your needs above my own. And it nearly destroyed me. I get that, do you? Because I don't think you do. Emma, I'm 37 years old. I have no savings, no house, no retirement fund, no life outside of work and family obligations. I haven't been on a date in 3 years because I'm too exhausted from working overtime to cover your expenses. I haven't pursued any of my dreams or goals because every spare dollar and every spare minute went to keeping this family afloat. I pulled out my phone and showed her my new savings account. 1 month in, it had $4,000. This is what I can save in 1 month when I'm not funding everyone else. 1 month, Emma, in 12 years. I could have saved $576,000. I could have bought a house, invested, had a life. Instead, I have an empty apartment and a family that thinks I've never done anything for them. She stared at the number on my screen. Oh my God. Yeah. Danny, I'm so sorry. We took so much from you. You did. And I let you. And now I'm stopping. She nodded, wiping her tears. I understand. I really do. I just ... I wanted you to know what's happening. So you don't think we're all just angry at you or punishing you. We're just drowning. And we don't know how to swim because you've been keeping us afloat our whole lives. After Emma left, I sat in that Starbucks for a long time thinking about what she'd said. They were drowning, but for the first time in 12 years, I wasn't drowning with them. And as guilty as that made me feel, it also made me feel free. February brought the consequences I'd known were coming but hadn't fully prepared for emotionally. February 3rd. Jason called me drunk at 2 a.m. This is your fault, he slurred. My marriage, everything, your fault. I hung up. February 8th. Dad had a minor heart attack. Emma texted me from the hospital. Asterisk, he's okay, but the stress isn't helping. The doctor said he needs to reduce his stress levels. Asterisk. I felt the guilt like a physical weight, but I didn't cave. February 14th. Valentine's Day. I went on my first date in 3 years. Her name was Rachel, a graphic designer I'd met at a coffee shop. We had dinner, talked for hours, and for the first time in as long as I could remember, I wasn't thinking about family finances or who needed what. It felt like breathing fresh air after being underwater. February 18th. The bank initiated foreclosure proceedings on my parents' house. They had 60 days to either pay the full amount owed or vacate. Emma called me sobbing. Danny, please, please, they're going to lose everything. Then they need to sell, I said, trying to keep my voice steady even as my heart was breaking. Emma, a house is just a house. It's not worth their health or their future. But it's the family home. All our memories are there. Memories aren't in a building, Em. And staying in a house they can't afford is just pride at this point. She hung up on me. February 22nd. I got a message from someone I didn't expect. My Aunt Linda, Mom's sister. Asterisk, Daniel. Can we talk? Not about money. Just talk. Asterisk. We met at a diner near her place in Oak Park. Aunt Linda was 62. A retired nurse who lived modestly on her pension and Social Security. She'd always been the pragmatic one in the family. Your mother's furious with me, she said, ordering coffee. I told her she needs to sell the house. I looked at her in surprise. You did? Of course I did. Danny, I've been watching this train wreck for years. I knew you were helping them financially. Your mom mentioned it once. Years ago, and I told her she needed to be more responsible, not lean on you. She didn't listen. Why didn't you say anything to me? Because you're an adult, and it wasn't my place to interfere. But I did tell your mother multiple times that she was taking advantage of you. She always said you wanted to help, that you offered. I did offer, in the beginning, when Dad first got injured and they were struggling. I offered to help until they got back on their feet. That was 12 years ago. Exactly. Help has a time frame. This wasn't help anymore, it was dependency. And your mother enabled it, your father accepted it, and your siblings benefited from it. It was validating to hear someone in the family acknowledge the truth. They're going to lose the house, I said quietly. Good. I looked at her in shock. Good, she repeated firmly. That house is an anchor around their necks. They bought it when they were making good money and could afford it. Now they can't, but they're too proud to admit it. Losing it might be the best thing that ever happens to them. Aunt Linda, I'm serious. Danny, your parents need to downsize, live within their means, and stop pretending they're still upper middle class when they're barely scraping by on disability and part-time work. Jason needs to stop buying things to impress people and focus on saving his marriage. Emma needs to learn financial responsibility. And you, ... She reached across the table and squeezed my hand. You need to live your own life. Tears threatened, but I blinked them back. I feel guilty. Of course you do. You're a good person. But feeling guilty for setting boundaries doesn't mean you're doing the wrong thing. It means you've been conditioned to put everyone else first. What if something happens to them? What if Dad's health gets worse, or they end up homeless? They won't end up homeless. They'll sell the house, pay off what they owe, and use what's left to rent a modest apartment. They'll adjust. Humans are remarkably adaptable when they don't have a safety net enabling their poor choices. March 1st, the savings account hit $12,000. I stared at that number on my phone screen, feeling surreal. 3 months. $12,000 that was mine, earning interest, growing. Money I wasn't sending away. I transferred $5,000 into a separate investment account and scheduled a meeting with a financial advisor. For the first time in my adult life, I was planning for my own future. March 10th, Jason showed up at my apartment. He looked terrible, unshaven, wrinkled clothes, dark circles under his eyes. We need to talk, he said. I almost didn't let him in, but something about his defeated posture made me step aside. He sat on my couch and put his head in his hands. Ashley filed for divorce. I'm sorry, are you? He looked up at me with red-rimmed eyes. This is what you wanted, right? To punish us all for taking you for granted. No, Jason. This is what happens when people live beyond their means and the money runs out. Ashley didn't leave you because of me. She left because you lied to her about your debt and took out a loan you couldn't afford without consulting her. I was trying to help Mom and Dad with money you didn't have. Jason, you're $80,000 in debt. Your marriage was already on shaky ground because of your spending. My stopping payments didn't cause this. It just exposed what was already there. He was quiet for a long moment. I've been seeing a financial counselor. Through the divorce proceedings, she showed me. God, Danny, I've been so stupid. Yeah, you have. She showed me that Ashley and I were spending $9,000 a month on a $7,000 a monthly income. We've been going further into debt every single month for 3 years. I didn't even realize it because we kept getting credit card offers, and I thought as long as we could make minimum payments, we were fine. How did you think that was sustainable? I didn't think. That's the problem. I just assumed it would work out, that I'd get a promotion or a bonus or something. I was living in fantasy land. He looked around my modest apartment, my secondhand furniture, my basic TV, my lack of fancy decorations. You've been living like this while paying for all of us to live better than you. How did we not see it? Because you didn't want to see it. It was easier to take the help and not ask questions. I'm sorry. His voice broke. Danny, I'm so fucking sorry. For what I said at Christmas. For everything. You're right. You did everything for this family. And we acted like you did nothing. It was the apology I'd been waiting for, but it felt hollow somehow. Too late. Too much damage done. What are you gonna do? I asked. Sell the house. Split the equity with Ashley. Well, split the debt. File bankruptcy, probably. Move back in with Mom and Dad until I can get back on my feet. He laughed bitterly. Join Emma in the childhood bedroom brigade. Jason, Mom and Dad are losing their house too. The bank's foreclosing. His face went pale. What? They couldn't make the payments they're being foreclosed on. They have until April 15th to vacate. Oh my God, did you really think they could afford that house without me? Did any of you actually think about the math? Right, I guess I assumed Dad had savings or ... I don't know. I didn't think about it. None of you did. That's the problem. March 15th, Mom called. Daniel, we need to talk. Face to face. I don't think that's a good idea. Please, I'm begging you, just give me an hour. That's all I'm asking. Against my better judgment, I agreed to meet at a neutral location, a park near my apartment. She looked older than I remembered. The stress was showing in her face, in the way she carried herself. We're selling the house, she said without preamble. We found a buyer. A young family, cash offer. We'll close in 2 weeks. That's good, Mom. Is it losing our home? It was never your home if you couldn't afford it. She flinched. Your father and I are renting a 2-bedroom apartment in Cicero. It's smaller, cheaper. We'll manage. Good. Emma's moving with us. Jason too, probably, once his divorce is final. All of us crammed into a tiny apartment because you decided to pull your support. No, Mom. All of you crammed into an apartment because you made financial decisions you couldn't sustain. I didn't cause this. I just stopped enabling it. You abandoned us. Her voice rose. Your own family? I've funded you for 12 years. How is that abandonment? Because family doesn't quit. Family doesn't give up when things get hard. I didn't quit when things got hard, Mom. I quit when I realized I was the only one trying. When I realized you'd all rather have my money than have me. She started crying. That's not true. When's the last time you asked about my life? When's the last time Dad called just to see how I was doing? When's the last time any of you treated me like I was more than just a checkbook? She didn't answer. I love you, Mom. I love all of you. But I can't light myself on fire to keep you warm anymore. I just can't. So that's it? We're just supposed to figure it out on our own? Yes. That's called being an adult. That's called living within your means. That's what millions of people do every day without a rich relative bailing them out. You're not rich. Exactly. I'm not rich. I make a good salary, but I'm not wealthy. And yet I've been supporting for adults in 3 households on my income for over a decade. Do you understand how insane that is? She looked down at her hands. I never thought of it that way. I know you didn't. And that's the problem. We sat in silence for a while, watching people walk by with their dogs, their children, their normal, uncomplicated lives. What happens to us now? Mom finally asked. You live in your apartment, you budget, you adjust. Maybe you get a full-time job. Maybe Dad finds part-time work he can do with his limitations. Maybe Jason and Emma contribute to household expenses. You figure it out like everyone else does. And you? I start living my own life. Finally. She stood up to leave, then turned back. I do love you, Daniel. Even if I've been terrible at showing it, I know, Mom. But love isn't enough when it's not backed up by respect. March 30th, the house sold. My family moved into their small apartment in Cicero. I didn't help them move. For the first time in 12 years, a family milestone happened without my financial involvement or my physical presence. And I was okay with that. April brought spring to Chicago, and something I hadn't felt in over a decade, possibility. My savings account hit $16,000. I'd met with a financial advisor who'd helped me set up a proper investment portfolio. For the first time in my life, I was building wealth instead of just transferring it to others. April 5th, I signed a lease on a new apartment. 2 bedrooms in a nicer neighborhood with a balcony overlooking a park. The rent was $400 more than my current place, but I could afford it now. Moving day was April 20th. Rachel helped me. We'd been dating for 2 months now, taking things slow but steady. She knew about my family situation. I told her everything on our 3rd date, expecting her to run. Instead, she'd said, "Good for you for setting boundaries." That takes real strength. As we unpacked boxes in my new living room, she asked, "Have you heard from them lately?" Emma texts me every few days. Updates, mostly. Jason's officially divorced as of last week. Mom got a full-time job as a receptionist at a medical office. Dad's doing some freelance consulting work online. Not much, but something. And how do you feel about all that? I thought about it as I arranged books on my new bookshelf. A piece of furniture I'd actually bought for myself, not inherited or found at a thrift store because all my money was going elsewhere. Proud of them, I think. They're actually trying. They're not just waiting for a bailout, but Rachel could read me well. But I'm also angry that it took them losing everything to try. That they couldn't have done this when I was killing myself to support them. That's fair. One thing I loved about Rachel was that she never tried to fix my feelings or tell me I shouldn't be angry. She just let me feel what I felt. April 28th, Emma asked to meet for coffee. We'd been meeting every couple of weeks, slowly rebuilding our relationship on different terms. She looked better than she had in months. Still stressed, but there was something different about her, a kind of confidence I hadn't seen before. I paid off my first credit card, she announced. The smallest one, $2,800. I used the debt snowball method my financial counselor taught me. That's amazing. Felt so good to see that zero balance. Like I actually did something. Me, with my own money from my own work. She paused. I never had that feeling before. Everything was always just ... handled. By you, mostly. How's the second job going? Exhausting, but I'm making an extra $1,200 a month bartending on weekends. And I started a side business doing calligraphy for wedding invitations. That brings in another $300, $500 a month. It's not much, but it's mine. I felt genuinely proud of her. That's really great, Em. Danny, I need to tell you something. She looked nervous. Mom and Dad are planning a family dinner next month, for Mother's Day. They want you to come. My stomach tightened. I don't know if that's a good idea. I get it. But I think you should consider it. Things are different now. Different how? Jason's in therapy. Like real therapy, dealing with his spending addiction and his ego issues. Mom's on medication that's actually working for her depression. Dad's pride took a massive hit, but he's adjusting. And we're all learning to live within our means. It's hard, but we're doing it. That's good. Really. But I don't know if I'm ready to sit around a table with everyone and pretend everything's okay. Nobody's pretending everything's okay. We all know it's not, but Danny, we're trying. Isn't that worth something? I promised to think about it. May 1st, my savings account hit $20,000. I stared at the number, feeling something close to awe. 5 months. $20,000. Money that was mine, growing, working for me instead of disappearing into someone else's expenses. I'd also started maxing out my 401k contributions at work. My financial advisor had shown me that if I kept this up, I could retire comfortably at 65, maybe earlier. For 12 years, I'd had no retirement plan except work until I die. Now I had options, possibilities, a future. May 10th, I decided to go to the Mother's Day dinner, not for them, for me, to see if I could sit in that space without the old dynamics sucking me back in. I told Rachel about my decision. We were having dinner at my new apartment. I'd actually cooked, using my new kitchen that I'd stocked with proper cookware instead of the random mismatched stuff from my old place. "Do you want me to come with you?" she offered. Moral support? That's really sweet, but I think I need to do this alone. Plus, I don't want to subject you to my family drama yet. Yet? She smiled. So you're planning a future with me? The question caught me off guard, but in a good way. Maybe, if you're interested. I'm very interested. But Daniel, I need to know you're actually available. Not just physically, but emotionally. That you're not so consumed with family stuff that there's no room for anything else. It was a fair question, one I'd been asking myself. I'm working on it, I said honestly. Therapy's helping. Setting boundaries is helping. And being with you, that's helping too. You make me remember there's a life outside of family obligation. She leaned across my new dining table, the one I'd bought without checking. The price tag first and kissed me. Good. Because I'm falling for you, Daniel Forster. And I need to know you're falling too. Not just going through the motions while your mind is somewhere else. I'm falling, I admitted. Definitely falling. May 12th, Mother's Day, arrived with unseasonably warm weather and my anxiety at an all-time high. I drove to the apartment in Cicero where my family now lived. It was a modest building in a working-class neighborhood. Not bad, just different from the suburban house they'd lost. I'd looked up the rent online. $1,400 a month for a two-bedroom. Manageable on their combined income if they were careful. Mom answered the door. She looked better than the last time I'd seen her. The job seemed to be good for her, giving her structure and purpose. Daniel. She hugged me, and I let her, even though it felt awkward. Thank you for coming. The apartment was small but clean. Emma had clearly helped with the decorating. There were cheerful touches that made it feel like a home rather than just a place they'd landed. Dad was in the living room, working on his laptop. He looked up when I entered, and I saw something in his eyes I'd never seen before. Shame. Son, he said, standing to shake my hand. Good to see you. Jason was there too, sitting on the couch looking thinner and older than his 39 years. Ashley's absence was conspicuous. Hey Danny, he said quietly. Thanks for coming. Emma appeared from the kitchen. Perfect timing. Dinner's almost ready. Danny, can you help me with something? She pulled me into the tiny kitchen where she was clearly managing a complicated meal on limited equipment. How are you really doing? She asked in a low voice. Be honest. Nervous. Waiting for someone to ask me for money or make me feel guilty for not helping. That's not going to happen. Mom and Dad laid down ground rules for today. No guilt trips, no asking for money, no making you uncomfortable. This is just dinner. That's all. And if it's not, then you leave, and we respect that. Danny, we're trying. That's all we can do. Dinner was surprisingly pleasant, or at least not terrible. The conversation stayed neutral. Emma's calligraphy business, Jason's job search, Mom's work stories. Nobody mentioned money or the foreclosure or any of the elephant-sized topics we were all avoiding. But then, as we were clearing the dishes, Dad spoke up. Daniel, I need to say something. We all do. My guard went up immediately. Here it comes. We sat back down at the small dining table, and I noticed they all looked nervous. We've been meeting as a family, Mom started. Every Sunday, talking about things, about what happened, about our part in it. With a family therapist, Emma added. She's been helping us understand the dynamics we created. Jason cleared his throat. I need to apologize, properly, for what I said at Christmas. You've never done anything for this family, God, Danny. That was the cruelest, most ignorant thing I've ever said. You did everything. You sacrificed everything. And I was too blind and too selfish to see it. We all were, Mom said. Daniel, we took advantage of your generosity. We treated you like an ATM instead of a son, a brother, a person with your own needs and dreams. Dad spoke up, his voice heavy. I failed you as a father. I should have refused your help when it became too much. I should have downsized, made hard choices, lived within my means. Instead, I let my pride and my fear keep us in a house we couldn't afford. And I let you pay the price. I felt tears threatening but held them back. Why are you telling me this now? Because we need you to know that we understand, Emma said. We understand what you did for us. We understand what it cost you. And we understand why you had to stop. The therapist helped us see that we were treating your support as unconditional, Mom continued. Like it would always be there, no matter what. We never stopped to think about the burden we were placing on you, or to even acknowledge it, let alone thank you. Jason pulled out a piece of paper, a spreadsheet. I've been tracking our expenses since we moved here. Every dollar, every purchase. I wanted to understand where the money goes, how much things actually cost. Danny, I had no idea. I had no concept of how much you were spending to support us. Looking at these numbers, I don't know how you did it on your salary. I don't know how you survived. I barely did, I said quietly. I had nothing left for myself. No savings, no future, no life outside of work and supporting you all. We robbed you of your 30s, Dad said, his voice breaking. Your whole adult life. And we didn't even notice. The silence that followed was heavy, but not uncomfortable. It felt like something was shifting, settling into a new position. I'm not expecting you to forgive us, Mom said. I don't know if we even deserve forgiveness, but I want you to know that we're changing. We're living within our means. We're not asking you for anything, and we're genuinely sorry for what we put you through." I took a breath, trying to organize my thoughts. I appreciate the apology, really, I do. And I'm glad you're getting help and making changes. But I need you to understand something. They all looked at me. I'm not coming back. Not as your ATM, not as your safety net. I can't go back to that dynamic. It nearly destroyed me. "We know," Emma said quickly. "We're not asking you to. We just want you in our lives, as our brother, our son. Not as our bank. I need time," I said, "to trust that this is real, to see that the changes stick, to rebuild relationships that aren't based on financial dependency." "We understand," Mom said. "Take all the time you need. And I need boundaries," I continued. "If anyone asks me for money, I'm gone. If I feel guilty or manipulated or taken advantage of, I'm gone. I won't go back to how things were. I can't." "That's fair," Dad said. "More than fair." After dinner, I stood on the small balcony with Emma while the others cleaned up inside. "How do you feel?" she asked. "Weird. Suspicious. Hopeful. I don't know. It's like I want to believe this is real, but I'm scared to trust it." "That's valid. It is real, though, Danny. I've been living with them. I've seen the changes. Jason goes to his therapy appointments religiously. Mom actually budgets now, like writes everything down and tracks spending. Dad took a hard look at his pride and realized it was killing him. They're different. People don't change overnight. No, they don't. But they've had 4 months of consequences, 4 months of reality. That changes people pretty fast." I thought about that. 4 months for them, 4 months for me, 2, of freedom, of building my own life, of remembering who I was beyond the family provider. "I'm seeing someone," I said suddenly. "Her name's Rachel. It's getting serious." Emma's face lit up. "Danny, that's amazing. Tell me everything." And I did. I told her about Rachel, about my new apartment, about my savings account and my investment portfolio and my retirement plan. I told her about therapy and boundary setting and learning to put myself first. "You sound happy," Emma said, "like genuinely happy." "I don't know if I've ever heard you sound this way. I am happy. For the first time in over a decade. I'm actually happy." "Good. You deserve it." Driving home that night, I felt lighter somehow. Not forgiven. I wasn't ready for that. But heard, acknowledged, seen. Maybe that was enough for now. Rachel was waiting at my apartment with wine and questions. "How'd it go?" "Better than expected." They apologized. Actually apologized and seemed to mean it, and I told them I needed time and boundaries. That I'm not coming back as their ATM. How'd they take that? Surprisingly well. Like they expected it. Rachel curled up next to me on my couch, my new couch that I'd actually picked out and paid for without stress. So what happens now? I don't know. I guess we see if the changes stick, if they can maintain their new lifestyle without falling back on me. If we can build real relationships instead of transactional ones, and if they can't, then I walk away for good. I've finally built a life I don't want to sacrifice. She kissed me softly. "Good, because I like this life you're building, and I'd like to be part of it. You already are." That night, lying in bed in my new apartment with Rachel beside me, I thought about how far I'd come in 5 months. From drowning in family obligations to building my own future. From being invisible and taken for granted to being seen and valued by Rachel, by my therapist, by myself. The road ahead with my family was uncertain. Maybe they'd maintain their changes. Maybe they'd slip back into old patterns. Maybe we'd find a new normal somewhere in between. But for the first time, I knew I'd be okay either way. Because I'd finally learned the most important lesson. I couldn't save people who wouldn't save themselves. And I couldn't light myself on fire to keep others warm. Not anymore. 6 months after that Christmas dinner, my life looked completely different. It was late June, and I was sitting on my balcony with my laptop, checking my investment portfolio. The market had been good to me. My savings and investments had grown to $35,000. Not life-changing money, but a foundation, a future. My phone buzzed. "Emma, * family barbecue this weekend at Mom and Dad's. You should come. Rachel's invited too. *. I showed the text to Rachel, who was reading beside me. We'd moved in together last month. Her lease had been up, and it felt right. Natural. "What do you think?" I asked. "Do you want to go?" "I think so. Things have been okay the last few times I've seen them. Emma says the changes are sticking. Then let's go. I'm curious to meet the family you've told me so much about." Saturday arrived sunny and warm. We drove to Cicero with a bottle of wine and a vegetable tray. Modest contributions. Nothing extravagant. I've been careful about that, making sure my gifts didn't slip back into the old pattern of me providing everything. The apartment building had a small shared courtyard where residents could grill. Mom and Dad had set up a simple spread: burgers, hot dogs, potato salad. Nothing fancy, but sufficient. Jason was there with a woman I didn't recognize. Danny, this is Michelle. We've been seeing each other for a few months. Michelle was different from Ashley, simpler, more grounded. She worked as an accountant and, Emma had told me, was helping Jason rebuild his financial life. Nice to meet you, I said, shaking her hand. You too. Jason's told me a lot about you. I wondered what version of the story he'd shared, but her expression was warm, not judgmental. Emma arrived with a date to a fellow teacher named Marcus. The courtyard filled with conversation and the smell of grilling meat. I watched my family interact, looking for signs of the old dynamics, but they seemed different. Smaller, somehow. More humble. Mom wasn't dominating conversations or creating drama. Dad wasn't hiding behind false confidence. Jason wasn't showboating or spending money. He didn't have to impress people. They were just ... people. Flawed, struggling, but trying. At one point, Dad pulled me aside. Daniel, I wanted to show you something. He pulled out his phone and opened a spreadsheet. This is our budget. Every month. I track everything now, every dollar in, every dollar out. I looked at the neat columns. Income, Dad's consulting, $800 month. Mom's receptionist job, $2,400 month. Emma's rent contribution, $400 month. Jason's rent contribution, $400 month. Total, $4,000. Expenses, rent, 1,700美元. Utilities,250美元. Groceries, 500美元. Transportation, 200美元. Medical, 300美元. Insurance, 400美元. Miscellaneous, 300美元. Savings, 200美元. Total, $3,550. We're saving $450 a month, Dad said with unmistakable pride. Building an emergency fund. We're up to $2,700 so far. Dad, that's great. It's not much, but it's ours. We're doing it ourselves. He paused. I wanted you to see that we're serious. That we're not going to fall back into old patterns and come asking you for help. I can see that. Jason's moving out next month. He and Michelle are getting a place together, a modest one-bedroom they can actually afford. Emma's saving for a security deposit on her own apartment. By fall, your mother and I will be on our own in a one-bedroom we can manage on our income. You've really turned things around. We had to. Losing the house, losing our financial security, it was the wake-up call we needed. We just wish it hadn't taken us 12 years and nearly losing you to get there. I didn't know what to say to that. The therapist says we were in denial, Dad continued. About our finances, about our dependence on you, about everything. We were living in a fantasy where money just appeared and problems just solved themselves. You were enabling that fantasy, but you weren't creating it. That was on us. It was probably the most self-aware thing I'd ever heard my father say. Later, as Rachel and I were getting ready to leave, Mom pulled us both aside. Rachel, thank you for coming, and thank you for being patient with our family. I know we're a lot. Rachel smiled. Everyone's family is a lot in their own way. Daniel, Mom turned to me. I know I've said this before, but I need to say it again. I'm sorry. For all of it. For taking you for granted, for not seeing you, for treating you like a resource instead of a person. Mom, let me finish. She took a breath. You gave us 12 years of your life. 12 years of your money, your time, your future. And we didn't appreciate it. We didn't even acknowledge it. That's unforgivable, but I'm asking you to forgive me anyway. I looked at my mother, really looked at her. The gray in her hair, the lines around her eyes. The weariness of someone who'd finally faced reality and found it harder than expected. I'm working on forgiveness, I said honestly. It's not something I can just decide to do, but I'm trying, that's all I can ask. As Rachel and I drove home, she asked, how do you feel? Weird. Good weird, but weird. It's like they're different people. Maybe they are. Consequences have a way of changing people. Do you think the changes will stick? I think they'll stick as long as they have to. Whether they stick permanently remains to be seen. But Daniel, that's not your problem to solve. You've done your part. You've set boundaries. You've taken care of yourself. You've given them the chance to step up. What they do with that chance is on them. She was right. I'd spent 12 years trying to save my family. Now I was finally letting them save themselves. August brought my 38th birthday. Rachel threw me a party, my first real birthday party since I was a kid. She invited friends from work, from the gym, from our building. My world had expanded beyond just family obligations. Emma came, bringing a homemade card and a small gift, a journal with your story embossed on the cover. For documenting this chapter of your life, she explained. The one where you finally live for yourself. It was thoughtful and personal in a way that family gifts had never been before. Jason came too, briefly, with Michelle. He gave me a gift card to my favorite restaurant. Modest but appropriate. Mom and Dad sent a card with a heartfelt message but didn't come to the party. "We didn't want to intrude on your new life," Mom had texted. "But we're thinking of you, and we love you. It was the right call." This party was about my life now, not my family obligations. Marcus, Emma's boyfriend, pulled me aside at one point. "Emma talks about you a lot, about what you did for the family, about how you finally stood up for yourself. She says you're her hero. I'm not a hero. I just finally got tired of being a doormat. Same thing sometimes." September marked 9 months since that Christmas dinner. 9 months of living my own life. 9 months of savings and investments growing. 9 months of therapy and boundary setting and learning who I was beyond the family provider role. My investment portfolio had grown to $42,000. My financial advisor projected that if I maintained my current savings rate, I'd have $150,000 in 5 years. In 10 years, over $400,000, I could retire comfortably, travel, live, all the things. I'd given up to support a family that hadn't even noticed. Rachel and I started talking about buying a house together. Nothing extravagant, a modest 3-bedroom in a good neighborhood, something we could afford and enjoy without stress. The old me would have felt guilty about this, about building wealth while my family struggled in their small apartment. But the new me understood that they weren't struggling, they were adjusting, learning to live within their means, becoming self-sufficient, and that was healthy, for them and for me. October brought an unexpected development. Jason called me, asking to meet for lunch. We met at a casual restaurant near my office. Jason looked better than he had in months, healthier, less stressed, more grounded. "I got a new job," he announced. "Sales manager at a manufacturing company. Good salary, reasonable expectations. Michelle helped me negotiate a sign-on bonus that we're putting straight into savings." "That's great, Jason." "Yeah. And Danny, I wanted to talk to you about something." He pulled out an envelope. "This is for you." Inside was a check for $5,000. "What's this?" "It's not nearly enough. It's not even close to what you spent on us, but it's a start. Michelle and I budgeted carefully, and we can afford to pay you $500 a month. It'll take forever to pay you back fully, but I want to try." I stared at the check, emotions warring inside me. "Jason, you don't have to." "Yes, I do. You gave us 12 years of support. The least I can do is acknowledge that debt and try to repay some of it. Please, Danny, let me do this." I thought about refusing, about telling him to keep his money and focus on his own future. But then I realized this wasn't about the money. This was about Jason taking responsibility, making amends, treating our relationship as something real instead of transactional. "Okay," I said. "But, Jason, if it ever becomes too much, if you ever need to stop because of your own financial health, I need you to tell me. I will. I promise." We shook hands, and it felt different than it ever had before. Equal. Respectful. Brothers. Finally, instead of a TM and user. Thanksgiving approached, and this time I wasn't dreading it. We gathered at Mom and Dad's apartment, again a smaller crowd this year. Just the core family, Mom, Dad, Emma and Marcus, Jason and Michelle, Rachel and me. The meal was modest but good. Everyone contributed. Emma brought pie, Jason and Michelle brought wine, Rachel and I brought side dishes. Mom cooked the turkey in their tiny kitchen. It wasn't the extravagant spread from years past, but it was real, earned, sustainable. After dinner, as we sat around the small living room, Dad stood up. "I'd like to say something," he began. "This time last year, we were in a different house, living a different life. A life we couldn't afford, built on Daniel's sacrifice. We lost that life, and at the time it felt like the end of the world." He looked around at all of us, but it wasn't the end. It was the beginning of living honestly, of living within our means, of taking responsibility for ourselves. We've struggled this year, but we've also grown. We've learned who we really are when we can't hide behind financial privilege we didn't earn. Mom spoke up, and we learned what really matters. Not the big house or the fancy things, but family. Real family, based on love and respect, not dependence and obligation. Emma raised her glass. "To new beginnings." "To taking responsibility," Jason added. "To living honestly," Mom said. I raised my glass. "To boundaries." Rachel smiled and added, "To healthy relationships." We clinked glasses, and I felt something settle in my chest. Not forgiveness, not complete forgiveness, but acceptance, understanding, hope for something better. December came, and with it, memories of that Christmas dinner a year ago. The accusation that had changed everything. I was wrapping presents for Rachel's family, her parents, her sister, her nephew. Normal, modest gifts that I could afford without stress. "Are you going to your family's Christmas dinner?" Rachel asked. "I think so. Are you okay with that?" "Of course, they're your family. And they've changed, Daniel. I've seen it. They have. I just keep waiting for the other shoe to drop. For them to slip back into old patterns. Maybe they will. Maybe they won't. But either way, you're okay. You have your own life now, your own boundaries. You're not responsible for saving them. She was right. A year ago, my entire identity had been wrapped up in being the family provider. Now, I was so much more. Partner, friend, professional, individual. The family provider role was just one small part of who I was, not the whole story. Christmas Day, we gathered again at Mom and Dad's apartment. The tree was small and modest, decorated with homemade ornaments Emma had crafted. Presents were few and thoughtful, rather than expensive and numerous. Jason gave me a framed photo one from our childhood, the two of us building a snowman, both grinning. From before things got complicated, he said. To remember that we were brothers first. Emma gave me a book she'd bound herself, filled with family recipes and memories. Our history, she explained. The good parts. Mom and Dad gave me a letter. I opened it there, in front of everyone. Asterisk, dear Daniel. Asterisk, asterisk. A year ago we lost our house, but we gained something more valuable, the truth. The truth about who we were, who you are, and what really matters. Asterisk, asterisk. We spent 12 years taking from you without seeing you, without valuing you, without appreciating the enormous sacrifice you were making. Asterisk, asterisk, this year. We've learned to stand on our own feet, to live within our means, to take responsibility for our own lives. It's been hard, but it's also been liberating. Asterisk, asterisk, we know we can never repay you for what you gave us, not just the money, but the years of your life you spent supporting us. All we can do is promise to never take you for granted again. Asterisk, asterisk, you're our son, our brother, not our ATM, not our safety net, just our beloved family member who we finally see clearly. Asterisk, asterisk, thank you for not giving up on us completely. Thank you for setting boundaries that forced us to grow. Thank you for being the strong one when we were weak. Asterisk, asterisk, we love you. Not for what you can provide, but for who you are. Asterisk, asterisk, love. Mom and Dad, asterisk. I folded the letter carefully, my eyes stinging with tears I didn't try to hide. Thank you, I managed. Rachel squeezed my hand. We ate dinner. Simple, good, sufficient. We exchanged modest gifts. We laughed and talked and enjoyed each other's company. And for the first time in 12 years, I didn't feel the weight of financial responsibility crushing me. I was just a son, a brother, a person. Finally. Later that night, back in the home Rachel and I shared, we sat on the couch with wine and leftover pie. How do you feel? She asked. Complete, I said, like I've come full circle. A year ago, Jason said I'd never done anything for this family, and it broke something in me, but also freed something. And now they know what I did. They appreciate it. But more importantly, I'm not doing it anymore. I'm not the family ATM, I'm just ... me. Just you is pretty great, Rachel said, kissing me. I'm thinking of proposing, I blurted out. She pulled back, eyes wide. What? Not right now, but soon. Maybe spring. I know we've only been together 10 months, but Rachel, you've been with me through the hardest transformation of my life. You've supported me, challenged me, helped me become who I am now. I want to build a future with you. She was crying now, happy tears. I want that too. So spring, when the world's coming back to life, when everything's new again? Spring sounds perfect. We sat together in our home, in our life, in our future. And I felt something I hadn't felt in over a decade. Free. Asterisk, asterisk, epilogue. 2 years later, asterisk, asterisk. I'm standing in my backyard, my actual backyard, of the house Rachel and I bought together. Watching my wife still gets me every time I think that laugh with Emma and Michelle at something on Emma's phone. We're hosting a barbecue. Nothing fancy. Burgers, beer, summer sun. Mom and Dad are here, grilling vegetables they brought from their community garden plot. They moved to a senior living community 6 months ago, one they can afford on their pensions and savings. They seem happy there, playing bridge and taking day trips and living simply. Jason's here with Michelle. They got married last spring's mall ceremony, budget-friendly, genuine. They're expecting their first child in November. Emma's here with Marcus. They just bought a small condo together. Emma's calligraphy business is taken off. She's making almost as much from that as her teaching job now. My investment portfolio hit $95,000 last month. Rachel and I are planning a trip to Japan next year, our first real vacation. I got a promotion at work. Now I'm a lead engineer making $185,000. But the difference is, now that money is mine, ours. Building our future, not propping up someone else's unsustainable lifestyle. Marcus approaches me, beer in hand. Emma told me the whole story about what you did for them, about that Christmas dinner. Man, that took guts. It took desperation, I correct him. But yeah, it changed everything, for the better. I look around at my family, smaller, humbler, but real. At my wife, my home, my life. Yeah, I say, definitely for the better. Jason wanders over, Michelle in tow. Danny, we wanted to tell you something. We're naming the baby Daniel if it's a boy. I'm genuinely touched. You don't have to. We want to. After the man who showed us what real strength looks like, what real family means. Later, as the sun sets and people start heading home, Dad pulls me aside one last time. I'm proud of you, son. I should have said it more over the years, but I'm saying it now. I'm proud of the man you are. Not because of what you did for us, but because of how you stood up for yourself when it mattered. Thanks, Dad. You saved us by stopping saving us. I hope you know that. I do know that. Finally, as I watch everyone leave, see them, drive away in their modest cars to their affordable homes, to their sustainable lives, I feel Rachel's hand slip into mine. Good day? She asks. Great day. No regrets? About cutting them off financially? Not one. Best decision I ever made. Second best, she corrects, grinning. Oh yeah? What's the first? Saying yes when I asked you out that first time. She's right. That is the best decision I ever made. 2 years ago, at a Christmas dinner, my brother told me I'd never done anything for my family, so I stopped funding it. And in doing so, I saved it. Not with money, not with sacrifice, but with truth, boundaries, and the courage to finally put myself first. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do for people is let them learn to stand on their own, especially if they're family.